So that's obviously an AI image of Cambridge, because I was trying to find something online and I didn't want to break any copyright laws. That's a little bit about me. I'm a very hardcore gamer. That's my avatar. I've been gaming since I was 14 years old. I'm somebody that's actually on the autism spectrum disorder. I have ADHD, all the sort of normal great things that make and enhance me. I actually think, I used to say it was a problem, and I've realized it's actually a little bit of a superpower. I can be really quite low and then spend hours involved in something and just wipe the floor with anyone else. I just hyper-concentrate and lock myself away in my bureau. So once you understand those things, it actually becomes really quite a benefit. So AI, is it disruptive? Words are powerful, and especially when you're dyslexic, they become really powerful. So let's get this going. So anxiety, keywords, uncertainty, ethical dilemmas, job displacement, privacy invasion, dependence. This is all AI negatives. People often cite these terms. But also it could be innovation, efficiency, advancement, problem solving, and empowerment. So it really depends. Like any design product, it depends on your perspective of what AI and where it sits. And to give you a bit of background, I used to work for a company, somebody in here will be shooting me. You see, I told you I'd do it. I used to work for a company called Lennon & Hoosby. I was an electronic data processor for that company at the end of the 90s. And we started thinking about machine translation back in the 90s. So what we actually did was, it was really horrendous. It was actually just Excel, and you would just mark each text in Excel and go through it, and then you'd link. And you just link these whole phrases. So if the translator, if this became in the new document, this would be the result for the translator, which means the translator would actually end up doing less work. This was very, 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 very early development sort of stuff. We also developed Dragon Translate, or Dragon software for that company. The very first speech to text was actually the owner's secretary called Mary Biner. We actually had people sending in recordings, and she would actually type it out using, or she'd actually use shorthand. We'd type it out, send it to the translators, send it back to the customer, and they all thought we had a machine translation system for audio. So don't believe anything. And when you're talking about language and AI, I started hearing about llamas, and I thought, what the hell are they on about llamas for now? We're not in a zoo, and it's a large language module meta AI, obviously created by AI. And again, having sort of issues with text and language is actually quite an interesting thing. I took a giant leap and moved out of England and went to Germany. Didn't speak a word of German really, apart from zwei Bier bitte, and I only ever wanted one. So that was also a problem. And again, words are actually quite important. If you actually know Sarah Millican, she's maybe funny, she might not be funny, I find her okay. But what she does do, she actually types in a photo description for blind and vision impaired people. So they can join in her postings. So when you've actually got some images, she'll actually quite hilariously describe what is in those images. So the software can interpret it and actually speak those images out so people can fully enjoy even the images that are posted. So these are quite important things. We won't need this because we've had about machine translation or machine learning this morning. So what AI are we talking about? I tend to actually go around helping design companies with Midjourney. They can be quite a challenge. It's quite interesting. People are very sort of traditional. We've heard about Sauer Essig earlier. They're very, very traditional in their approach. This is absolutely, it's not just New World, this is a different university, or a different universe to these people. I create about 1,000 images a month on this. And talk to different companies, interact with them and see which directions they want to go in, and actually train their people in the repro houses how to use these images. Because they're about the size of a postcard. So Midjourney has the ability to create things from prompting. We've just seen that words can actually create images. So I actually, when I was a lot younger, when I was a teenager, my ideal life was a nice old Porsche with a wooden house sitting in the mountain range. I've got a house living on a really flat plain in Germany, so I'm a bit far away from that at the moment. But then I thought, okay, what if we put this into Midjourney and actually went through and see the stages? Because everyone talks about how brilliant it is at the moment. Where everything has stages. This is version 1. This is the exact same problem. Wooden house sitting on a mountainside, large snow-topped mountains, and a Porsche. I don't see a Porsche. There's a house of sorts. It might be quite modern there. Whether it's snow, I'm not sure about this. But then version 2. We start to see the makings of something in the front. I'm still not sure what it is. It all seems to merge. I studied art as well, and it's a bit sort of Japanese in its approach. Slowly getting there. This is version 3. And I'm going to skip, I'm sure. Version 4. Now we're starting to get somewhere. These are starting to get quite impressive. Version 5, really quite nice. And the latest version is version 6. These become a really impressive progression through the versions. So AI, Midjourney, has 16 million users, which really means 60 million developers, investors, and there's a new development every 4 months in its progression because it's software-based. I always try and relate that to the real world. And this was actually the camera I used to have when I was at university. This was my very, very first digital camera. This is actually a Nikon Z6. I've now got a 7, so it's a little bit out of date. But the leap between these two pieces of hardware is 27 years. What we've just seen in the space of version 1 to version 6 of Midjourney, that just did that in a really short time compared to this. So, I mean, you're looking at software development is much quicker than developing hardware. Version 6 is the equivalent of a Nikon Z7 when you handle it correctly, which is actually quite astounding. So what's it good for? It can help designers enhance their range. It's never going to replace a designer. It's a bit like putting a pencil down and asking it to draw. It needs human interaction. It needs that physical interaction. And with AI, it still needs that physical interaction. If you're inputting things into it, getting feedback, and I'm sure you know as well with Saueressig, you can actually produce real horrible nonsense, or you can produce really high-level stuff. So I work in the decorative market, and the decorative market is actually, it's probably about 70 years old in a sense. That, I mean, the first really rotogravure machine was about 1950s. I've had some discussions with people in Germany, and we sort of relate digital print as being sort of like an early young teenager. It's just about finding its feet, and it's about ready to enter the real world of industry, but it needs a bit of support still. And in relation to that, this is actually a steam-driven KVA machine, and this revolutionized printing at the time this was released, because it would really pump the prints out. Koenig and Bauer in 1814, that was the Times press. They got chased out of London because they'd revolutionized it. They got their lives threatened and had to run out of the country. So it's a fascinating background. This is the rotorjet machine, 2024. So development hardware-wise, there's been an interesting progression there. And in relation then back to AI, it takes a while to develop these things. You've got a great machine, but you still need to feed it. One of the biggest bottlenecks that I found in the decorative industry in Germany was really feeding the machine. Once you got to an industrial level, actually feeding the machine with stuff that was good enough to sell was very difficult for teams. You were looking often at months of work and investment in designs. So the idea was to try and streamline that. This is a company, I believe it's Spanish. There are the links. If anybody wants, they can click on them. This created designs, and you know yourself from Valencia. It was a big ceramics market in Valencia. There was an awful lot of use of AI in that area. One of the early adopters for design work. This fascinated me because I'm a member of a DIPA, and we talk about surfaces, DIPA surfaces, so Digital Printing Association for Surfaces. And often people just forget about textiles. Everybody wears textiles. Everybody's got designs, patterns, and everything in their houses. This company, during COVID, decided to invest in AI in such an interesting way that I'm surprised more people don't do it. You can go onto their website. I've asked for permission from the company to show this. You can type in a few keywords. It will then send you back designs and say if you'd like them printed. Now you can have a meter of this, you could have 10 meters, or you could have 1,000 meters or beyond. And it was just an interesting way that they'd approached the problem of how to use AI in an industrial application. Again, this is a decorative company. This is actually prompted, which is actually quite fascinating because the quality is actually very, very good on it when you see it live. Normally, the limitation of rotogravure in the decorative industry is 1 meter 30, 1 meter 31, 1 meter 32 in cylinder circumferences. The beauty with AI is you can just start to extend that. There are companies already out there like Claassen and a few other companies. They actually are now doing, instead of having 8 boards in your lamination packs for flooring, you've got 80. So to find the same board next to the other board in the room is actually now being reduced tremendously, which makes the actual product more worth because it becomes more natural as a product. It's a bit like trying to reproduce this floor. This was also printed on OSB boards. I think everybody knows industrial OSB boards. They're often used in building sites. Quick and dirty. But then digitally printed actually enhances that product to such a degree that they're getting a very good margin on this product now, from something that is incredibly cheap to something that's actually worth. And it's quite fascinating because the surface and the structure and the designs work so well together. So here, it should play, was something we did on a KBA Koenig & Bauer open day. So this is 24 meters long as a design, and it's just to show the strength of the machine. So this is one file that was printed. It's 24 meters by 1 meter 31 wide, actually. 1 meter 35 wide, I'm sorry. And it was just fun doing it. I mean, it was that, how can you show the benefits of digital print over normal print? Everyone anybody in the decorative industry, the first thing I actually experienced was, can we print this single color? Anybody knows anything about digital print, you don't want to start printing monotone colors. It's an absolute nightmare. So you have to try and find benefits for the salespeople to sell the product that they should be selling, in a sense. So the idea is it disruptive? Or has it already been normalized? I've now worked with enough companies to realize that it's really 2 camps. There are camps that are completely opposed to the idea of even using it or looking at it. And there's the camps that have adopted it in such a passion. I know South Essig are quite invested in that sort of area as well. And they've got a very good skill base. The companies that have already invested in it and looked at it they've already, this guy, we don't know if he's missing the train or if he's out the back trying to catch it. And that's the sort of key point with AI. My belief is it's just about leaving the platform, and people that could be getting on board should be getting on board. Otherwise, they're going to be quite out of date. So disruptive. I mean, when I look at here, I've traveled to Asia, India, around Europe. Regardless of the company size and the departments, they often ask the same question straight away, and it's about, will it replace me? The idea is never to replace anybody. It's a bit like when Steve Jobs started selling the Mac, he actually placed the Macintosh in the company and left it with them. And a lot of people thought, the executives thought, oh gosh, this is going to replace me because I'm skilled in with a typewriter. But then they realized they've actually enhanced and actually alleviated an awful lot of stress and a lot of work. Adobe have normalized it. We've heard this morning. AI is in photos, so Photoshop, Illustrator, and amazingly video. Video is amazingly well done. I was actually quite shocked at how well that was in Premiere. You can actually select an object. If your daughter is cycling past a lamppost, you can select the lamppost and say, could you please remove it? And it will take it out. So your daughter's now going across a country lane and there's no lamppost anymore. It's absolutely incredible, the ability. And that's the thing. Most people think, oh, I'm going to have to invest. When it comes to design, it's already there. And it's been there for quite a while. Photoshop have had AI since Photoshop CS6 with a thing called content fill. People didn't realize that was AI in a very crude form. So I also like to think that when robots became cobots, that AI, and I'm still trying to work this out, whether it becomes aid, as in an aid assistant, first aid, my first go-to assistant. My professor always told me, if you can't find a word, make one up. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. So I actually used it to create a podcast. Thanks to the guys from FuturePrint, I'd actually seen these great podcasts they created. And I actually chatted to ChatGPT, asking it about the decorative industry. It gave me text back. I then converted it using different software into audio and had a conversation with it. To actually just announce that we were thinking about doing podcasts. So somebody with really no marketing skill, and this is very basic, I must say, this is not on the level of these guys. Somebody with really no marketing skill has the ability to then enter the market and at least show people a platform. This is what our company can do, and this is what we can do, and this is actually an experience. At the last time I did a presentation, I actually showed people how good it possibly was. This image here was taken with my iPhone. There was a serving desk outside in the last time I did this presentation, and I just took a photograph, came in, somebody was speaking. I uploaded that to Midjourney, so that goes up into the cloud. I type in, I would like something similar, and it gives me this. Now, it's not brilliant, but it's surprisingly close color-wise. That's shocked me even more. There are details in here that aren't brilliant. These aren't that fantastic for decor, that's for sure. But the tones were very, very close, which actually, that shocked me more. And it gives you the ability to expand your thoughts. Any creative designer that goes on, and they say, oh, it hampers things. Anybody goes to iStock Photo, most designers that used to come into the companies I worked for, they had absolutely no idea what they wanted. Most designers would come in and say, yeah, something like this. And it's the language they use. I mean, when you're sort of struggling with certain language sources, you will get people talking about, I'd like it, especially in German, I'd like it sweeter. What direction sweeter is in a color tone, I don't know. They don't talk about LAB values. They talk about emotions. So here, you can put those emotions into play and get images, which is absolutely, for me, I just think it's amazing. So this, to me, you can interface and then offer your design team or your customer base and say, look, put what you want in here, and we can then talk about what's created. So I do believe it's become a very norm. And if anybody wants any samples, they can quite happily download some and just play.